Well, it's been a beautiful Easter Sunday out here in God's country. Splitting some wood, cutting some wood, and realizing that there's only one more week before voting day here in Canada. And I was thinking a little bit. You know, every time we have an election, we end up getting somebody worse than we had last time. That's been my experience. And I don't know, maybe we shouldn't have so many elections, but but what's really, really funny, and I want to talk about it a little bit today, but I'll share this, like, you know, throughout our government's time in office, everybody gets upset and pissed off that all we ever hear from our elected representatives are that they're parrots and trained seals, and they just parrot talking points and party slogans. That's all they ever do. That's all I ever saw them do in the Ontario legislature. And now, during the election campaign, it's not just the candidates, not just the politicians that are parroting talking points and slogans. It's everybody. The Canadian voters have just become like the politicians that they dislike so much, parroting these bloody stupid ass talking points and slogans. Elbows up, bring it home, boots not suits. Everybody seems to have taken an overdose on stupid pills during the elections. But I wanted to share with you my experience. I've gone through a lot of elections, both as a voter, as a candidate, as an elected representative. And we've got this in every election. Every election is, this is the important one. This is the really important one. Not like the last one, or not like the last 10, or 20, or 30. This election, this is the important one. And, you know, the first time I went to a polling booth, I was 4 years old. My mom and dad took me by the hand. Wasn't even in school yet. And we walked a few blocks over to a neighbor's house. It was a beautiful sunny day like it is today, but we walked over to a neighbor's house because the polling station was in a neighbor's house back then. And I didn't vote that time, but it's a memory that has stuck with me. And maybe one of the reasons why I enjoyed politics so much and enjoyed understanding and learning about politics was that walk as a 4-year-old to the polling station in 1962. But, you know, for the first 26 years of my life, I really only lived under a Liberal government in Canada. And mostly under Pierre Elliott Trudeau. God help us all for that lad. But, you know, that's what the Canadian population wanted. Trudeau mania. And the girls and everybody went crazy for Pierre Elliott Trudeau. So I was quite relieved in 1984 when we had a change. We went from the Liberal government to a Conservative government with Brian Mulroney. And I thought, now we're going to get a good government. We're not going to have a scandal-ridden, corrupt, dishonest bunch of people in government like Pierre Elliott Trudeau. No, this time it's going to be different. And of course, Brian Mulroney. Now, there was a little interlude, but it was just a brief moment in time with Joe Clark. It really doesn't count because he never got off the ground, that lad. But Brian Mulroney, And sure enough, he's going to lower taxes. He's going to balance the budgets. He's going to respect Canadian sovereignty. And he's going to do all the great things that Pierre Elliott Trudeau fix all the things that Pierre Elliott Trudeau had screwed up. But of course, what does he do? He keeps the immigration gates open. He actually puts in place legislation for multiculturalism in Canada. He never ran a balanced budget once in his, what it was, 9 years in office. No, even though he increased taxes, created the GST, increased taxes on booze and smokes, ran up all kinds of new expenses, but he never balanced the budget, just like Pierre Elliott Trudeau. And, of course, he was right into the pandering as well with Quebec. If you remember, I remember when the Bristol Aerospace in Winnipeg won the maintenance contract for the CF-18 aircraft. And then Brian Mulroney took that away and gave it to Bombardier in Quebec, because, of course, they needed a few more votes in Quebec. Hell with the Canadian taxpayer. He can pay a few more bucks, so Brian Mulroney can win a few more seats. And, of course, there was the Airbus scandal and the bags of cash and secret commissions for Mulroney, because, it's hard to get by on a prime minister's salary of a couple $100,000 a year. So he needed a little extra spending money. And, of course, there was the Tuna Gate scandal. And what other scandals did he didn't have any bud. But, and then, of course, the big one. The big one. Let's get into bed with China. He liked China a lot. Did a lot of Team Canada flights over to China. And, of course, he was big into globalism, but back then you didn't call it globalism. He called it free trade. Free trade was a nice, softer, more gentle word. Euphemism. But he was big into globalism. He was one of the big spearheads on the WTO. That came in during his time. And, of course, he loved international treaties like the 1992 Rio Summit, the Earth Summit, where Canada bought into the climate change bullshit that we've never gotten rid of. That was all Brian Mulroney. So, scandals, deficit financing, more taxes, lowering of their standard of living, more immigration. Not much different than Pierre Elliott Trudeau. And he didn't undo anything that Pierre Elliott Trudeau had done. So the Canadian voter, in their wisdom, tossed those bums out. Get rid of those bums. Let's get the other bums back in. And, of course, we put in the red bums again with Chrétien and Martin. And they had a good go of it for, a little over 10 years. And they kept raising the taxes as well, lowering the standard of living, making their future ever more difficult for our kids. Really bit in hard on to the China group with Chrétien and Martin. And you remember Chrétien buying hotels on the napkin to help out his constituents. And then, of course, the ad scandal arose. And the Canadian population was suitably pissed off once again. And it was time to out with the bums and get a real Conservative Party this time. Get a real change. None of that phony stuff like Mulroney and no more scandals like Chrétien and Martin. No, we got Stephen Harper this time, a true Conservative. And, of course, time goes on. Now, Stephen did balance the budget a couple of years, but more years than not, he ran a deficit. increased taxes as well, continued to lower the standard of living, loved free trade agreements as well. He was a full-on globalist. That's the pattern of them all. And of course, he was no slouch when it came to scandals as well. The In-N-Out scandal, moving money in of one riding out of another one, changing hands. The Mike Duffy scandal, you can't expect these poor senators and parliamentarians to not be dipping into the public trough as well. So, but there was a bunch of them. The In-N-Out, and the robocall scandal as well. Let's not forget the robocalls. And after 10 years of the morally bankrupt and corrupt, scandalous Conservative government, it's time to get a fresh start here in Canada. Time to get a fresh start. And who better to give us a fresh start than Pierre's son, Justin? So, out with the blue bums, in with the new red bums, and everything will be good. And of course, nothing much changes. Taxes go up. Standard of living goes down. Government scandals are on the increase. The Wee scandal, the Jody Wilson-Raybould scandal. Let's take care of our buddies over at SNC-Lavalin. And who knows, the integrity violations. Go on and on and on. And finally, to the point where the people are so mad. Trudeau is in the dumpster. The polls show that he can't get anywhere. So, and Poilievre arrives on the scene after a bunch of failed Conservative leaders like Scheer and O'Toole. And Poilievre, he's going to be the new star. He's going to bring us in a clean new start. And of course, Poilievre supported all of Trudeau's initiatives during COVID. Never once spoke against the lockdowns. He actually wanted Trudeau to get the jabs into people faster and he was very critical of Trudeau for not jabbing people faster. Never said a thing about the lost jobs, the lockdowns, the destruction of the social fabric in our country. No, he was full on. And there's a little story about, I don't know whether it's true or not, about his wife making off on all kinds of cash, supporting the lockdowns and having businesses like that. But he's going to be the savior because Trudeau must go. Now, the Liberals preempt him. And the Liberals get rid of Trudeau first. And bring in the numero uno globalist in Canada, Mark Carney. Well, I don't know if he's numero uno, but he's right up there. I'm not sure which one is a bigger globalist, Pierre or Mark. Doesn't really make much difference to me. They're both morally bankrupt, just as their parties are morally bankrupt. Now, some people are going to have bought in, and they're confident that Pierre will not be like these other guys. They will not be like the Mulroneys. They'll not be like the Harpers. They'll run a clean government. Just watch this time. This one time, the Conservatives are going to operate a good, clean government, even though they are morally bankrupt as well, and everybody knows it. Poilievre hasn't said a word. The White House has come out with a powerful condemnation of the response to COVID, that the social distancing was harmful, non-scientific, the same with the masks. The lockdowns were harmful. The jabs were harmful. It didn't start with some bat in Wuhan. It started in the Wuhan lab, gain-of-function research, government money paying to create a virus that would kill people. Anyway, but You go at it. You go at it. If you think Pierre is going to be a better option, that he's going to give you a clean government, go for it. But listen, I've been around the block enough. Don't try to convince me that Pierre, the morally bankrupt Conservative Party, is going to be any different than the morally bankrupt Liberal Party. They're both globalists. They both fill their own pockets. There will be scandal after scandal after scandal, and within a few years, you'll be wanting to get rid of the bum Pierre, or you'll be wanting to get rid of the bum Carney, whichever one, and rinse and repeat. This election, I've been duped long enough, plenty of times. Was duped by Mulroney. I never expected anything from the Liberals. I expect them to be corrupt and scandalous. But I want to have an option, a choice, for something other than a corrupt, scandalous, morally bankrupt government that continues to spend our children's and our grandchildren's future. So you go at it, but I'll be voting for somebody else. And I would encourage people, if you don't want to have a morally bankrupt government, if you don't want to legitimize a corrupt, scandalous government, maybe, just consider. Maybe there's an independent candidate in your riding. Maybe there's a PPC candidate. Maybe there's a Christian Heritage Party candidate. Maybe don't support a morally bankrupt, dishonest, corrupt, scandalous political party and expect them not to behave like morally bankrupt, scandalous, dishonest people that they are. Until next week, hope you enjoyed the show. Like and share. Follow me on Substack or YouTube, Twitter, Facebook. And from God's country, have a lovely, beautiful Easter. And we'll see what government the Canadian voter brings us next week. And will it be a better one or a worse one than what we just had? See you soon.